Yes, James, how are you?
Yeah, good Len yourself.
Yeah, really good, thanks. Yeah. So we spend a lot of time talking to parents of young footballers, and a lot of the same questions come up time and time again. How do I help my child become more confident? What do I say after a bad game? Should I, am I putting too much pressure on? Am I not putting enough pressure on? How can I best support them as a parent? And we thought it'd be really useful to sit down together and have an honest conversation about it. And before we do that, James, can you just give us a little bit more context on sort of your journey in football up to now, and then about pro mindset and how pro mindset came about?
Yeah, my journey was from leaving school at 16, but even before that, I sort of fell in love with football 5, 6 years old, watching Italia '90 World Cup, and just loved playing football with my mates, going down the park. Just again, every time I had a ball in the garden, whatever it was, I just sort of fell in love with competing as well, with winning. I then sort of left school at 16 and went straight into sort of professional football, 2 year YTS at Darlington. Um, and then sort of a whirlwind 5 years really. Left at 17 after playing for England. Left for Newcastle. Newcastle signed me for over £1 million. Then made my Premier League debut at 19, and then I was relegated out the Football League at 20. So a lot happened in that 5 years. Then went on to sort of change my whole outlook on performance and off the pitch as well, working with a mentor on sort of mindset mentality. And I'm trying to explain this as quick as I can. But I then went on and played sort of 17, 18 seasons for Doncaster Rovers, becoming the all-time appearance record holder, 695 games, making 800 over 800 career games. And then while I was doing that, I sort of formed Pro Mindset. The biggest reason was the misconception and the lack of understanding around mental performance and how important it is within performance within football. I was really frustrated and disappointed with the lack of support that players were getting. And when I say support, I don't mean like support as in, if people are struggling. I mean just support in terms of developing players, so player development. So yes, technical, tactical, and physical, we cover all them bases, but there was nothing really focusing on, mental skills, self-belief, confidence, resilience, courage, leadership, communication, self-awareness, accountability, all these skills that play um, a significant part in performance, whether that's on the pitch and off the pitch. So I set up Pro Mindset in 2015, so 11 years ago. And it was to start with 4 players and just 4 players. But since sort of the last 4 years, it's been with parents, coaches, organizations, teams to help them understand what it is and how to develop it and improve it. So that's me, my journey in a nutshell, sort of quite quick. Um, yeah.
So when you decided to create Pro Mindset, was there many other things out there like this that actually focused on the mentality, the mindset side of the game?
There was, but not in football. So there was things in business, things in American sports, American football, basketball. It was predominantly them areas where people were improving and developing, sort of mindset coaches, mental performance coaches, psychologists. For me, I had a sort of a moment working with Terry Gormley, who I've spoke about, who was my mentor, who worked with me and developed sort of within one session. He'd sort of give me control back. He'd made me sort of think, oh my God, I didn't know there was this side of the game that I could develop and improve. And I look at it now and I look back and I think even now there's so many players that I work with and see every single day that aren't aware that they can develop in this area, and they're struggling to perform consistently well. They're struggling to deal with disappointments, setbacks, sometimes dealing with successes as well, and they just don't know, what to do or where to go. So for me, it's so important to normalize this, make this part of your everyday um, sort of regime, part of the process of you becoming a better player. So yes, you'll go and do the technical stuff on field. Yes, you'll go and do the physical stuff on field and sometimes in the gym. But we talk about off-field coaching, and mental performance and tactical understanding has been part of that. So whether you're playing in the National League or you're playing in the Premier League, you need to be making this part of your daily sort of regime, your daily sort of habits. And I think, going back to your question, there wasn't anything in football like this. So yes, we have coaches, managers, we have S&C coaches, we have analysts, we have everybody dealing with different parts of the game. But in my opinion, we don't or didn't have anybody dealing with the most important part, which is how you think every single day, which ultimately determines, in my opinion, how successful you can be.
Yeah, and it's you see it a lot in football, and you see a really big emphasis on the technical, the tactical, the physical parts of it, and it's really interesting. So I come at it from a completely different angle in the sense of between us, we've got 800 plus professional football appearances, and and 800 plus of them come from you. But what's been really interesting about my journey into football is coming from a different angle and coming from working with our youngest players and working for the last 9, almost 10 years, predominantly in the foundation phase. And I'm working in professional academies and being really interested in this idea that exactly what you've spoke about in terms of the technical, the tactical, the physical parts of the game, they they get massively emphasised right across, even with the youngest players. And it's something I've always been really interested in. Hence why these type of conversations have started coming around about how we can help not just professional footballers, but our youngest footballers, 8-year-old grassroots players, 11-year-old academy players, develop this part of their game too and help the parents support them on this journey. So as they get older and go through the system, because what's really interesting is you can sit with an academy manager or a first team manager and you can spend and just ask one question and you ask, this is the question you ask. I've got a 10-year-old footballer or a 11-year-old footballer here. I want them to become a professional when they're older. What type of things do they need to make it? And straight away you hear, he's got to be resilient. She's got to be able to handle pressure. She's got to be able to communicate well with teammates. She's got to be able to deal with disappointment. She's got to be able to take criticism. He's got to be able to feel confident to perform. And they'll spend 10 minutes before they mention that he's got to be able to pass the ball 5 yards. And it's always like really stuck with me that, because then the next sort of follow-up question is, how are we helping these young footballers develop these skills? Because whichever way you dress it up, technical skills, so passing, receiving, finishing, dribbling, physical skills, so your strength work, the things you do in the gym, are skills that everyone agrees you can develop, you can learn, you can improve as you go through your journey. And then you go to mental skills and all the things that get talked about as being so important. If you then start to break these down, they are skills that you can develop in the exact same way with time, with a coach, with an off-field coach, as you do the technical and physical. So learning how to be more confident. There's specific skills, strategies, techniques within that you can learn every single day as a young person and a young footballer. I suppose that's what's been really interesting in terms of sort of getting involved with pro mindset and spending more time, not just with you, but within the business and understanding it, is you've been onto that for a long time. And I've worked with a hell of a lot of footballers across that. And is that something you've seen as well in terms of the way that mental skills can sometimes get lost a little bit in translation, but actually when you strip it down, there's some really simple processes and strategies that you can use every single day to give you the best chance of performing?
No, it's really good, and what you said is excellent, and I think you're absolutely spot on. And we speak about it forever, but for me, it's normalizing it. So for me, it's normalizing it, and we go through what the introduction to mental performance is. So what actually is it? So for me, it's so important to understand that this is normal. You have an opportunity every day to improve and develop mental performance and mindset every single day. So as well as technical, tactical, and physical, like you shouldn't be doing this if you've had a disappointment or a setback or you're frustrated or something's happened. Like this should be part of your daily routine towards becoming the best player you can be. That is the biggest thing that I want to get. One of the biggest reasons why I started Pro Mindset, because there's still a misconception to what it is. It's almost like you only do this when you've had a setback or a disappointment. And people sort of look at it exactly the same as sort of mental health and all the things that other people speak about. Yes, there's parts of it like that, and we all sort of have setbacks and frustrations and disappointments. But we're talking about performance. We're talking about how do you become the best player possible? How do you give yourself the best chance of performing every single time you go and train? Not every single time you play a game. Every single time you go to a training session or a gym session or a tactical session or a mental performance session with a mental performance coach, are you giving yourself the best chance of becoming the best player possible? That's ultimately what this is. And I think it's so important for people to understand that. You know, we've come on here to talk about it, and I don't want people to think and get caught up in all the fluff and stuff like that. It's not about that. It's about making this part of you becoming the best player possible. And the reason I think people don't do it, and the reason why I think people don't invest in it, is because it's subjective and you can't measure it. So every other part of the game you can measure. So technically, you can measure in games, pass completion, goals, assists, key passes, all these metrics. Physical performance, we can measure physical performance, how far we run, how far we sprint. Um, you know, it's gone to a different level now, physical performance. And they're all important, don't get me wrong. And then you go tactical performance, we can see and break down where people are in their positions, whether they understand against playing other formations. But all the things that you mentioned at the beginning, can we actually measure them? Can we actually go, right, there's a little GPS thing that you put in the back of your vest, and we can tell, you know, how your self-belief is, how your courage is, how your confidence is, you know, how self-aware are you? Are you creating accountability? Yes, we can sort of measure it, and we can see certain factors that give things away, like body language, but we can't actually put a figure on it. And that's why I believe people don't see the value in it, don't understand how to develop it. And I made it my mission in 2015, and it's been really, really tough. I'm not going to lie, because you're massively up against it. You're up against the stigma. You're up against the misconception. But I genuinely feel like the biggest reasons why I started this is because it really, really, really frustrates me. I lived out my dream of becoming a professional footballer, and when I see people, young players and old players, not fulfill their potential because of this, and they're not aware that they can improve on this side of the game, it sort of like it gets to me. So when I work with players and I'll come off a session after an hour, it's like you almost give somebody this information and this understanding, and you can see the light bulb go off. It's like it's the best feeling in the world, because you've just give them something that I got given when I was 22 years old, and you're giving this to somebody at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 that they can carry for the rest of their lives. And, you know, whether they become a professional footballer or not, they'll become a better person, or they'll be successful in other ways because they understand, you know, they can control their self-belief and confidence. They can become more resilient, and be more courageous. They can become more self-aware and understand how people are perceiving them, and you know, they can become better communicators. So all these sort of skills and attributes, for me, the most important part is actually normalizing them.
If I was the parent of maybe a 15-year-old grassroots or academy player, and I wanted my child to start working on this part of the game, so I've maybe come across a video, or I know the importance of it from my own experiences, or my background or my journey, whether that was in sport or through work, and I wanted to work with Pro Mindset. How would I go about doing it? And what would the first session together sort of look like?
Yeah, again, it's a really good question because I probably take that for granted and understand or think that people understand what it looks like. For me, it's education and understanding. So that sounds, and this is why I'm up against it, because when you mention education to people, if I'm a young footballer, that's the last. It's the worst word ever because it takes me back to school. I didn't enjoy school. Most young athletes are visual learners, and they want to be doing, they want to be on the grass. But football is changing and has changed since I started. There's more classroom based sessions now where you have to actually sit, concentrate, focus, and understand roles and responsibilities within the team. So I think mental performance, this part of it, is a really good educator towards that if it's something that they want to do. So I would speak about actually educating parents and players on that this exists within your game, and you have an opportunity every day to improve and develop it, just like the technical, tactical, and physical. That would be the first starting point. If they wanted to get into and work with Pro Mindset, it's about having a call. So booking a call. There's obviously free access to certain things that we do. There's the app. There's so many different things that you can do to educate yourself on where this sits within your son's, daughter's game, but also your journey as a parent as well. So educating you, if you've got a child in an academy at 7, where do you go for advice? Where do you go to see if you're making the right decisions, if you need help and support in certain areas? A lot of the time, the clubs don't do this and find it hard to do this because you could be in an academy for a year and then get released. So they don't want to have them relationships. It's the biggest reason why we help parents because there's nothing really out there to support them on their journey. So in terms of a first session, again, it would be about educating them on, technical, tactical, physical, and mental. How do you become the best player possible? What does player development look like? And I think, again, this is done online. So we do most of our sessions online, which, again, is unbelievable format because you could be sat in your front room. We work with players all around the world. So in America, China, Europe, Australia. The list is endless. So this for me is an unbelievable development tool because it's accessible, on an evening, 5 till 6, 6 till 7, 7 till 8, on a morning and an afternoon, jumping on a call like this. But what I say is the most important thing and the most important part of anything is taking action. So is application. So we talk about knowledge, understanding, application. I had a call with somebody last night, and this isn't just relevant for our sessions off-field coaching. This is relevant for on-field coaching. So if you're a player and you're getting coached on-field, you have to take in the knowledge from the coach when he stops the session. You then have to understand it, so contextualize it into your game, into your position, and then you have to go and apply what he's asking you to do. And that's exactly the same with our sessions. So we'll go through knowledge, we'll go through, what is self-belief, what is confidence, what is resilience, how do you get more resilient, how do you build resilience? And then you have to understand it into, maybe off the pitch and on the pitch, and we help you with that as well. And then we'll give you strategies to then apply it within your game, your training sessions, your matches. And then it's about building and getting better in that foundation. We call it the foundation, the invisible foundation, mental performance, the part that controls everything that you do. So that is a starting point. And as soon as you have that starting point, it's about building and improving it every single day. So like technical, like tactical, like physical. I went from 16 all the way to 40 as a professional footballer. And the reason I did that and what allowed me to do that was that I improved and developed every single day from 21, 22. And I had a clear understanding of, I have to develop in my mentality, the way I choose to think every single day, because I'm going to have setbacks, I'm going to have disappointments. It's going to be constant. I had 2 calls last night with 2 different players, and we spoke heavily on off-field scenarios that they're facing, not on any sort of on-field stuff around their game. It was all about they're finding certain parts hard. It might be making decisions. It might be, they've got a contract offer or they've not got a contract. Dealing with going into a new environment, dealing with big characters. So again, it's not just like the on-field stuff; it's the off-field stuff that plays a part on the on-field stuff. That was quite long, that, wasn't it?
It's brilliant because there's this idea that working on your mindset. I think it sometimes gets put in this category of, and maybe it's perceived that we only work with our pro mindset in the past, has only worked with professional footballers, and while we still do, and it's amazing to support professional footballers. The thing that I give you a lot of credit for, James, is the fact that you then, and I've seen you do it, put as much passion, as much care and enthusiasm. You don't care, do you, what level the player's at? If you've got a footballer that you are working with, it's all guns blazing to try and help that footballer ultimately be the best version of themselves.
Yeah, when you mention footballer, you straight away you go identity as a footballer. But for me, it's the person. So me, it's the
Yeah.
actual person that comes on, and it might be I've got a player that I'm working with in the Premier League that'll come on after being at one of the best clubs in the world, and he'll come on and he'll want to get better. He'll want to find a way of improving and developing. And for me, that's the biggest thing that, they're already ahead of so many different people by actually coming on and opening their mind. I always talk about your mind's like a parachute, it needs to be open to work. Like they come on with an open mind. So they come on and go, right, what can I learn today to then go apply and get better and improve? I look at it like this. Imagine, right, you're trying to become a professional footballer now, or just imagine you're trying to become the best player possible and you don't understand that this exists. So you're trying to do it without understanding how to control self-belief and confidence, how to build resilience and courage, how to become accountable and build an identity as a footballer, how to improve communication and build relationships, how to become a team player, how to become consistent every single time you train and play. Imagine that you're trying to become the best you can be without doing and developing that. That's the way I look at it. And I think if you're doing that, you're up against it massively. You're up against it anyway because you're up against players that are actually starting to do this. So you're up against players that we're working with that are getting really, really good results, that are developing mental performance and mindset. And you're constantly thinking, if you're not doing this, oh my God, I need to do this. I've had a poor performance. I need to work harder technically. I need to go on the training pitch or I need to work harder in the gym. It's not that. But imagine that you don't know that. So imagine you're a parent and you don't understand it and your child's disappointed and frustrated and he's having, or she's coming to you and you can see visibly that they're finding it hard. And 9 times out of 10, they're finding it hard because of this. And it's the biggest reason why I started it. It's the biggest reason why I get so passionate about it because I've been there, I've experienced it, I've been that player. I've been that player that almost packed in playing football at 21, 22 because he didn't know where to turn. He wasn't enjoying it. He was finding it hard. He was being told he was the best trainer. He was being told he was the best player in the team, but couldn't produce it on a match day. Where do you go? What do you do? And I was fortunate to meet somebody that gave me this skill and allowed me to run with it. I always thank him for giving me it, and he always says to me, "Yes, I give you it, but you took it and you developed it, and you were the one that actually applied it." And I always say that to players now: education, knowledge, and then application. Sorry, knowledge, understanding, and then application. So the application part is on you. You have to apply it. We can't do that for you. We can do the other two, but you have to go and apply it.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I love hearing when people speak so passionately about it as well, and that's what's been amazing. If you're thinking of a red car and you say, and I'll say to you now, or anybody listening, um, red car, and every time you go out this afternoon in your car, you will start to see more and more red cars than you would have noticed before. For me, it's been the exact same thing with mentality and mindset. So once you start learning about it and seeing it and understanding it and wanting to improve it, you start to see so many signs and so many other people doing it. And we have a saying, don't we, that the best in the world leave clues. The best leave clues. And you see it all the time now when I just have Sky Sports News on, and you flick on and you'll hear a footballer mention how they work on the mentality or the mindset, and it'll be a little maybe comment, a little throwaway comment, but just off that, that this player's working on it, and that's been the biggest thing for me in the last year of being involved with Pro Mindset full time, is seeing the numbers just growing and growing in terms of not just people who and footballers who work with Pro Mindset, but who are working on their mentality and mindset in general. And it's 1,000,000% growing, and in my opinion, it's going to become the thing. So as footballers keep getting technically better and physically reaching the sort of top limits of what we can push ourselves to, the mindset mentality becomes an edge, and it becomes a. So I work a lot with younger players, and I call it a superpower, like a little secret superpower that if you are 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, you can start to develop it, and it just compounds over time. That's been the best thing for me working with, because we had a question, can you remember, about a year ago, Cops, where we sat down and we were scratching our heads thinking, could you do this? So the Pro Mindset framework that you spent 20 plus years putting together, which is, I was going to call it a work of art there. I don't know whether I'm taking that step too far, but it's incredible. And the detail and I love how it just gets straight to the point and cuts away so much of the fluff and it's so to the point in that if you follow this process and it's proven that it works and you'll get success and results on and off the pitch through the three things, through playing better, through feeling better, and through developing as a person as well. And I remember us speaking and going, could we take that framework that's been crafted for 20 years to support professionals and put it through a lens and put it through a sort of process where we could use it to help an 8-year-old footballer who's maybe feeling a little bit nervous before a game on a Sunday, or a 12-year-old. And that's been I think my favourite thing in the last year of what we've sort of done at Pro Mindset, is finding ways to bring it to life right across these age groups. And I had a session yesterday with a 7-year-old. So sat on a call like this with a 7-year-old. He's playing grassroots. He's in a couple of different pre-academies. And it was amazing. And it's been amazing. And we've worked together for the last 4 months now. And my favourite thing about working with young footballers is the impact you can have on and off the pitch. So this kid who I'm thinking of in particular, he's just been invited. So on the pitch, he's doing really well, because what we've been able to do is we watch clips back of him playing and training, and we can, as an off-field coach, who has somebody who does a session like this, you can be a sounding board and you can become a really important person in that young person's life, because you're not in it every single day. And you might do a session every week or once every 2 weeks where you can take a little bit more of an objective approach and try and help them find little solutions to what's going on. But it's them planting these seeds around mentality, mindset, and making it fun. So doing little games, little activities. And we spoke a lot about stepping out of your comfort zone as a young person. So what a comfort zone actually means, and how you step out of it. And this kid for years, his parents have been trying to get him to ride a bike. I honestly can't believe this. He sent me a photo this morning, and he was on his bike, off around the field on his bike, and I couldn't. And that might not have any relevance, but his mum sent me the video with a load of laughing faces and said, "What the hell did you talk about yesterday?" Because he's got on his bike and he said, "Oh, it's all right, mummy. We worked on this yesterday." And off he went. And it's like, I honestly get goosebumps about that kind of thing, because for me, and I know it's the exact same for you, as much as anything, you're developing the person behind the player. And I know you've touched on it already. And these skills that come from, and don't get me wrong, I coach hundreds. In the last sort of 8-9 years of being a coach, I've coached thousands and thousands of young footballers in the foundation phase. Every week, between sort of our sessions that we have at Pro Mindset, I'm working in Cat One Academy. I coach 84 players a week at the minute, and I adore it. If I teach one of them players a new skill, or maybe a way to receive the ball, or a little technical detail, they've got that for maybe 30 seconds a week. You know, when they need it in that specific moment in a game to get past a defender or to like release the ball quicker. If we can help a young footballer develop their sort of resilience or learn how to step out of the comfort zone and be brave, this is the thing I love because he's got that on the pitch. He's got it at home. He's got it in his when he's nervous in school and he wants to put his hand up, but he doesn't really dare to ask a question. He's got it when he's a little bit older, when he's stood outside that girl's house for the first time, about to knock on the door and ask her out on a date. He's got it when he's doing his driving test. Every single little part of your life can be improved by working on your mindset, mentality, even from a young age, because football and sport in general becomes this unbelievable hook, and that's what I've loved developing over time and improving the pro mindset framework for these young footballers, is because football then becomes a hook. So while we're helping them get better at on the pitch, all the other skills that the kids come on and they think they're just learning about football, and it's brilliant and it's really fun, and we're watching the best players in the world and we're trying to sort of learn from the best and doing little games and quizzes and activities, but actually we're helping these young footballers become better people, and that's what's been amazing. If you think back to what year did you make your professional debut?
2000, 2000 for Hartlepool, scored against Barnet away. Yeah.
I was -1 there, by the way, if you bothered.
Oh, wow.
How do you think football has changed in terms of what it was like for you growing up, maybe? Right from sort of the 7-year-old right through to 16, maybe, and how it's changed from when you were younger to what you see now working with young footballers?
Again, a really good question. I think for me, when I was growing up, I never wanted to be a professional footballer, so it wasn't something that I thought, yeah, I can be a professional footballer. Nobody from Gisborough, where I grew up, had ever been a professional footballer. My mum and dad didn't know anything about it, so I just literally fell in love with playing football. Football. Then, when I went into football, it wasn't heavily on tactics. Everyone played the same way. It was more focused on sort of technical elements of football, physical elements. But again, the physical demands, we didn't have GPS, we didn't have all the things that they have now. So if you fast forward to now, the difference between sort of 1998, 99, 2000, when I started in the professional game, to now, is unbelievable at all levels. So you go all the way down to grassroots. People are getting footage of their games recorded at grassroots levels, at under 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s. We see footage all the time. I think personally it is the biggest development tool alongside on-field coaching and off-field coaching in terms of what we do. I think watching your footage back and getting the ability to watch how everybody sees you is absolutely huge. My granddads did it when I was growing up, and I would watch myself back unconsciously without actually knowing, this is having an impact on how I see myself. It might be that I thought that I was close to defenders and I wasn't. It might look at the way I'm sort of modelling myself on. David Beckham was somebody that I looked to, Janino at Middlesbrough. But I think now there's so much more demands on footballers, on young footballers. It's clear that, people want to become footballers for the lifestyle, to earn money, to, live out something that is perceived as an unbelievable job. It's everywhere you look now. It's commercialized to the point where, people want the cars, the houses, everything that comes with it, but don't actually want to do the work and understand what it takes. People want to get there like that tomorrow, whereas it isn't that simple. It's about putting in the work and understanding that every day you have to work towards becoming the best player possible. And we speak about the 4 facets that you have to work in. So it's changed massively. And by putting extra demands and higher expectations on players, um, I think people think that they need to be there and they get disappointed and frustrated that they're not there. But in my opinion, this is where we help massively is we actually lay it out and go, right, this is what it takes. So this is what it looks like. If you want to get there and you're only doing this, lower your expectations if that's what you want to do, because that'll make you feel better. But if you want to get there and you're doing this and you add these things, then you will be able to get there. But it's about, again, taking action and actually delivering on it. So we have to move with the times, I think, as coaches, as mentors, to help players understand what it actually takes to become the best they can be, and not expect them to be the best they can be, but not be doing all the work and understanding, look, you need to work physically, you need to work mentally, you need to work tactically, you need to have good game understanding now. You won't be able to get into professional football or sustain a career in football if you don't understand the game, in my opinion. I think the game's changed that much that you need to understand, and understand what's expected in your position, to get anywhere in the game. So yeah, it is changed unbelievably, to answer your question.
There's two words that we speak about a lot when we're maybe planning a session with our coaching academy, or we're building a mentorship session. Two words that we talk about a lot. You know what I'm thinking of?
Go on.
Love and inspiration.
Yeah.
And that has been for me it's the centerpiece of everything we do. And like when you talk about it there, it's been a key thing I've wanted to get across to parents is these young footballers, young people have got to feel inspired. The people who are in their life, whether it's coaches, whether it's a parent, whether it's the teammates, you've got to want to feel inspired and love the game for what it is. And learning how to feel inspired, learning to love it. And it's something we do, like we actively do, and build into every mentorship session we deliver, every coaching session we deliver. Are the players going to love it? Are they going to feel inspired by it? And if both them boxes aren't ticked, it gets crossed out and we find a way to design it until it does. And it's the same and it's a question, is it all too much? So I hear this, like, is it all too much for developing, like, should my son be thinking about the mindset when he's 9 year old? Should he, can't he just enjoy it and play the game and feel relaxed? And it's been, for me, one of the biggest things I've learned. So working in academy football, and professional football even more so, it's really harsh. There's some really harsh environments, isn't the Cops, where you are 1 minute you're in, next minute you're out, or it can be really difficult at times. And I remember hearing, I think it was Alex Inglethorpe, the Liverpool academy director, talking about it, and he said, like 1,000,000% there is going to be setbacks on your journey as a young footballer. It's nailed on. Like, I can shake your hand now and guarantee you at some point you will feel like you've been let down by someone. You'll be out of the team. You might have an injury. You might get released. You might be rejected. You'll have some kind of setback. And helping footballers develop their mindset as a mentor, what I've loved more than anything is the way parents then talk about how it started to bring enjoyment back, or it's helping them keep the enjoyment, because once you realize that you can't control everything as a young person, and there's some things that are just out of your control, but you focus all your energy and every single thing you've got, the way you think, your enthusiasm, your energy, you put on the things you can control. That, as much as anything, in high pressure environments, in situations that are even like high level grassroots, you've got teams pinching other players. You've got big cup finals with sidelines full of people watching. There's a lot of pressure put on, and a lot of pressurized situations created for young footballers, especially if you're a little bit good at football, whether that is academy or grassroots. And if you don't work with a mentor then, or work with a mindset coach, it can become really hard to to just understand it and process it. And then that's where you see. So the dropout rates in football genuinely breaks my heart. The dropout rate in football, the number of young footballers who leave the game from sort of age to 12 to 16 is heartbreaking. And then go and maybe do another sport, but in the majority of cases, just drop out of sport completely. And then it's full time on online or just no, they're not then getting the benefits that come and with being in a team, with playing a sport, with the commitment that comes with the consistency, all these beautiful things that, like, if you were a parent, you'll probably remember, like when you were younger, that buzz of being in a football team or a netball team, and all them skills it's brought you later in life, the friendships you make. And a lot of the reasons that young footballers drop out or lose that enjoyment is because of the way one adults behave and the environments we create for them. And I don't think you can put it all on the kids. I think adults, whether it's coaches, parents, I think collectively we let a lot of young footballers down. But two, it's the way then young people think and how they perceive maybe what success looks like and their confidence levels. And a lot of kids will drop out of football because they're struggling with confidence. But it's very rare you'll get a young person to say, "Oh, I don't feel confident." What they might say is, "I don't want to go because I don't like him," or "I just don't want to play anymore." Or, although it's very rare you'll get that sort of answer really direct from them. So that's been one of my favourite things of seeing the footballers we work with actually rocking up to a football pitch with a smile on their face and learning to love the process. Like that feeling in your shoulders where you can feel that tension go when you realise actually I don't have to be in charge of everything. There's going to be setbacks. Oh, I'm having a bad game today, right? I'm going to focus on the next action. I'm not going to let it just swallow up my whole mood and my whole feeling. And that's been the biggest thing for me. And if you think about some of the young players we work with now, Cops, um, and you look at love and inspiration, how much of an impact do you think working on your mindset is giving you and giving them young players in terms of that sort of freedom to play and to love it?
Yeah, it's all subjective and different for different players and people, parents. I think it's so important when you're talking about mentoring a 7-year-old person or player. It's like for a lot of people, it'd be like exactly what you said. Is it too soon? Like, oh my God, what do you mean he's doing that? But what you're giving that player or that person is the ability to, and you mentioned it a few times, and it was the biggest thing for me is feeling control of their performances and what they do every single day. The worst feeling in the world as a player is going onto a football pitch and not feeling in control.
Yeah,
The worst feeling in the world, and I've been there. Really self-conscious growing up as a kid, is walking into a room and not wanting to walk into a room to be judged by other people. So walking into a room behind other people because you don't want people to judge you first. And I've been there. So in my opinion, if you can work with players early, it becomes part of them. It becomes part of their identity as a player, and it becomes their part of their identity as a person. Instead of when you get to 16, 17, 18, 19, when you've almost like have a way of thinking already, like I did, you're then having to undo quite a lot of stuff, and you're trying to get into them. Look, you can change the way you think to change the way you feel to change how you act, which ultimately changes your results. That's what I did at sort of 21 years old. Um, to answer your question, I think working with young players and seeing them develop strategies to improve performance is unbelievable. What we're definitely not saying, and what I never ever say, is we're the only people doing this, and we're the only mental performance coaches or off-field coaches out there. We're definitely not, and there's quite a lot out there. So if you're not working with us, you should be working with somebody else,
yeah,
100%. It's so important to find somebody that you trust, find somebody that wants to help and develop you as a parent, you as a player, you as a team or an organization, and actually gives you the ability to learn and put everything into action. But I agree. I think love and inspiration got me to 40. falling in love with what I do playing football allowed me to get to 40, allowed me to turn up on days where things weren't working for me, and I was finding it really, really hard. Um, so yeah, I feel like it's a huge part of development. It's a huge part of um, anything, and it doesn't need to be football. You can love, again, playing different sports and be inspired by so many different people around you. But if you are, I think it gives you the best chance of being able to perform over a long period of time when things are tough. If you don't fall in love with football and competing and are inspired by all the things around you, yes, you can become a good player and do really well, but how long will it actually last when things go against you?
So we have a newsletter, a pro mindset called 3 p.m. And the idea behind the name was 3 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon, traditionally being that time where everything you do during the week comes and it's all on show. You're in the arena, all eyes are on, and it's your time to perform and showcase everything you've been working on. The other part of 3 p.m. was where we try and give three powerful messages as part of sort of every newsletter. And I thought we could maybe finish this, Cops, with maybe three. I don't know whether you want to add one, I can add one, and then we can maybe put one in together, or you can have two. Where if we could send out three sort of pro mindset messages today to parents of young footballers that maybe they can start using like as of today. So three things they can start using as of today that'll help their child start working on the mindset, or maybe help that relationship, or anything. We'll try and end the episode and all episodes going forward doing this. Um, so I'll tell you what, I'll give you the first one if that's all right. Um,
As long as it's
and
not
the
the
first
same
one
one as
for
I was
me,
going to
the first one for me is to normalise mistakes, um, and letting young footballers know that and understand that making mistakes. Go on YouTube, type in Haaland missing chances or Messi missing penalties, and just watch. And if you've got a young footballer who steps onto a pitch and as soon as they make a mistake, they think it's the end of the world or it affects the rest of their performance, helping them develop that understanding of mistakes equal me learning and getting better, and the best in the world do them. I think that's such a powerful tool.
Yeah, that's it's something that, again, as a kid, depending on what environment we talk about, school environment, home environment, and football environment, depending on what environment you're in, might be different. So you might be at home and you're getting told not to make mistakes. You might be at school and getting told that you make a mistake and it's the worst thing in the world with different teachers. But then you get to football and it's like, it's part of learning. So actually understanding that making a mistake, I never wanted to make a mistake because I didn't want people to think that I was rubbish at it or people to laugh at me. Whereas when I actually changed it in my mind and went, you know what, mistakes are part of learning and you can't improve and develop without making mistakes, it was like, oh my God, make mistakes quick and then learn from them. It's a really good one. What I'll say is, I've already said it, I think it's so important for parents because ultimately they have play the biggest part in their young players' development, is just have a think about every time you're watching your son or daughter train or playing games, just be conscious of what we spoke about in terms of how important this is and how or what part of mental performance plays in your son's development or daughter's development when you're watching them. And for me, that's a starting point because, again, I sometimes think people watching this would be like, who the hell are these two think they are? Or what the hell are these two talking about? They're just talking crap. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like they're talking about this and they're talking about that and everything's, yeah, really good and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, this isn't for everybody. Not everybody wants to be the best player they can be, and not everybody wants to be the best person they can be. And that's fine. But ultimately, it's about, as a parent, recognizing, you know, is my son or daughter, do they need this, which they all need it? What can I do to help them with this? It might be that you just come and join the 3 p.m. newsletter. So every week you're getting tips and advice on how to improve their development. And what I'm definitely saying as well is your son or daughter isn't it might be improving and working on this unconsciously. Most people are. So most people are working on mental performance and mindset unconsciously. They have to be. But making it clear and then looking at where they need to develop and get better at, like technical performance, like physical performance. If you need to get quicker, you go and see a speed coach. If you need to get better at passing or shooting, you go and do it on the pitch. What happens if you need to improve self-belief and confidence and resilience and courage and become a better leader and improve communication and understand, be more self-aware? Who do you go and see? What do you do? So my advice to parents would be like, have a look at right now what you're doing and where you are, and then go and try and find it, whether it's free, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's with us, whether it's with somebody else. Go and actually see how you can start the process.
Yeah, brilliant. So we've got normalizing mistakes. We've got understanding where you are right now on your journey as a parent of a young footballer and your young footballer's journey. And the last point I'll add, the third point, is find people who help your young footballer love what they're doing, feel inspired to play, and make sure there's always people like that in their life, in their football journey. It's so easy. I see it especially working in the pre-academy age groups where it's so easy to get caught up in this whirlwind that becomes like kids football. Zoom out, find people who make your child love and adore football, feel inspired to want to play, environments where they get that feeling where they just can't wait to go back, harness it, cherish it, and and keep it as long as you can. And there's a three. We're in and we're up and running. Cops, thank you very much.
No, my pleasure. I loved it, Len. Yeah, looking forward to doing more.
Yeah, 100%. Top man. See you soon.